He was only 30 years old. This man who led millions of young people was killed at his strongest moment. But what was said at his funeral revealed a much darker truth behind his death. Those who attended the funeral of Charlie Kirk, one of America's most controversial figures, were shocked, because what was said at that ceremony wasn't just a farewell, it was a declaration of war. Charlie Kirk? What comes to mind when you hear this name? For millions of young Americans, he was hope, the voice of conservative values, the defender of free speech. But for his enemies, a name that rang alarm bells. Charlie, founder of Turning Point USA, had taken his place in the political arena when he was just 18 years old. Since then, his life had been one constant conflict. The media targeted him, universities canceled his speeches, social media giants tried to silence him. Strange things were happening in Charlie's final days. He had increased security measures. He kept telling his wife Erica to be careful. It was as if he was aware of something. The incident that happened in Utah 11 days ago was officially recorded as a random attack. But what Erica Kirk said at the funeral completely changed this story. Erica was saying through tears, 11 days ago, my husband had surrendered completely to God, and then God called him to his side. Her voice trembled as she described the moment she saw Charlie's body in the hospital. I felt shock. I felt horror, and in my heart, a pain I had never known before. But this is where everything changed. Erica gave a very strange detail when talking about Charlie's moment of death. After his death, I saw the slightest smile on his lips. That smile told me that God had shown great mercy in this tragedy. Because Charlie didn't suffer. He wasn't afraid. Can a person have a smile on their face after being killed? This detail left everyone at the funeral in deep thought. The most surprising moment at the ceremony was when Erica Kirk announced that she forgave the killer. Thousands of people in the hall held their breath. Our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did, and it's what Charlie would do. These words drew applause from the hall, but they also left a question mark in minds. Was Erica really this strong, or was there another message behind this forgiveness rhetoric? When former President Donald Trump took the stage, the hall was electrified, but no one expected what would come out of his mouth. Less than 2 weeks ago, our country lost one of the brightest lights of our times. Trump began, then described Charlie as a martyr for American freedom. These words weren't coincidental. Trump was implying that there was a systematic plan behind Charlie's death. You won't believe this, but Trump's most striking claim was this: the radical left's rhetoric and media pressure feeds this kind of political violence. So according to Trump, Charlie Kirk wasn't killed randomly, he was targeted. But the real bombshell came when Trump talked about Charlie's final wishes. One of Charlie's last wishes was, "Save Chicago." What did this mean? Why did Charlie want to save Chicago? What was happening in that city? Vice President J.D. Vance's speech became even more mysterious. He described Charlie not just as a political leader, but as a martyr for the Christian faith. While emphasizing Charlie's impact on young people, Vance said, "He lived to make young voters' voices heard and died for it." This sentence created deep silence in the hall, because Vance was indirectly admitting that Charlie had been targeted. But the real shocking thing was, Vance said something strange at the end of his speech. Charlie's legacy will be much stronger than his physical presence. Were these words consolation, or a hint about what would happen in the future? One of the most talked about moments at the ceremony was Elon Musk's words. The owner of Tesla and X had a very clear theory about Charlie's death. Charlie was killed because he showed people the light. These words went viral on social media. Musk believed that Charlie wasn't just a victim of a random attack, but was consciously silenced. But there was a much deeper story behind Musk's words. Recalling the DM conversations he had with Charlie Kirk on the X platform last month, Musk said Charlie had been much more tense in recent weeks. Charlie kept telling me, "They're watching us." At first I thought these were paranoia, but now I understand he was really aware of something. Musk's most striking statement was his conversation with Trump. According to eyewitnesses, Musk told Trump, "If we don't hang together, we will surely hang separately, so let us unite." This historic phrase was an echo of the famous sentence Benjamin Franklin said during the American War of Independence. Musk was consciously making this reference, as if what they were experiencing now was also a kind of war of independence. But independence from whom, and why so urgent? Another detail Musk mentioned at the ceremony was also very striking. Charlie's last Twitter/X post was very meaningful. "True freedom begins with choosing not to be silent." This post was made just 3 hours before his death. Was it coincidence, or was Charlie trying to send a message even in his final moment? This is where the story became even more complex. What was striking at the ceremony was that names who normally kept their distance from each other stood together. Trump, Musk, Vance, they were all on the same side, giving the same messages. Was this coincidence, or did Charlie's death reveal the existence of a common threat that united them? A journalist at the ceremony shared a very interesting detail. He said that Trump, Musk, and Vance had a secret meeting before the funeral. The content of this meeting was unknown, but it couldn't be coincidence that they all spoke in the same tone afterwards. Ron DeSantis was also at the ceremony and said something very striking. Charlie's death is not just a loss, it's a warning. We all need to be more careful. What did this warning refer to? As governor of Florida, what threats could DeSantis be aware of? Another speaker at the ceremony was Tucker Carlson. The former Fox News host used very harsh language. "Whoever killed Charlie thinks this is just the beginning, but they're wrong. This will be their end." Carlson's words received a standing ovation from the hall, but at the same time, it resembled a vow of revenge. A sentence from Charlie Kirk's speech gave the answer to this question. "Charlie and I were united in purpose. His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission." Erica wasn't just talking about keeping her husband's memory alive. She was announcing that she would take over the leadership of Turning Point USA and complete Charlie's unfinished work. But Erica's decision would have unexpected consequences. The most debated topic at the ceremony was Erica's forgiveness of the killer. But was this forgiveness really sincere? When Erica's words were listened to carefully, a different message emerged. The answer to hate is not hate. We know from the Bible, love, always love, love for your enemies, even love for those who punish me. The phrase, "those who punish me," was very interesting. Did Erica think that there were people behind her husband's death who wanted to punish her? These words implied that Charlie's death was a message directed not only at him, but at the entire family. We're not finished yet, because a detail from Charlie's last speech at America Fest 2023 was very striking. According to Erica, Charlie had read one of his favorite verses, Isaiah 6:8, "Here I am, Lord. Send me." Was this verse coincidence? In his last speech, did Charlie act as if he knew what would happen to him in the future? Erica described this memory like this. A year ago, Charlie was on stage. He was reading his favorite verse, as if he was declaring his surrender to God. Was Charlie's state of mind in that speech a harbinger of subsequent events? But another detail that emerged at the ceremony showed that this speech was much more mysterious. One of Turning Point USA's former employees said that Charlie was very different after that speech. After America Fest, Charlie was like a different person. He kept saying, "Time is running out." We didn't dare ask what time was running out. Charlie's assistant also shared a very strange memory. A month before his death, Charlie told me, "If something happens to me, tell Erica everything." When I asked, "What should I tell her?" he replied, "She'll know." What did these words mean? What secrets had Charlie kept from Erica? And did Erica know these secrets? In one of the notes Charlie wrote in his final days, this sentence appeared, "True martyrdom begins not with death, but with life." But sometimes death is also necessary. He had written this note just 48 hours before his death, as if he was preparing for his own death. One of the most important decisions announced at the funeral was that the leadership of Turning Point USA would pass to Erica Kirk. But this decision hadn't been made easily. Erica's words were very clear. His mission is my mission. But was it possible for a woman to lead such an aggressive and controversial movement as Charlie did? The speakers who supported this decision at the ceremony implied that Erica could be stronger than Charlie, because she was now not just a political leader, but also the wife of a martyr. Another striking point at the funeral was the silence of the mainstream media. CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, they barely covered Charlie Kirk's funeral. Was this silence coincidence, or did the forces disturbed by Charlie's death not want even his memory to be discussed? Trump's words at the ceremony, "Media pressure feeds political violence," became more meaningful in this context. But the media's silence wasn't limited to just not reporting. An inside source claimed that editors at one of the major media companies were given a directive to be very careful with Charlie Kirk news. Who had given this directive? And why was Charlie's death such a sensitive topic? Even more interesting was the behavior of social media platforms. Although the Charlie Kirk martyr hashtag was trending, it mysteriously disappeared from the trending list after a few hours. Posts about Charlie Kirk on Instagram were shadow banned, while videos about him on YouTube were pushed to the background in the algorithm. Why were tech giants so afraid of Charlie's memory spreading? A former Google employee made this anonymous statement. In a high-level meeting, it was said that Charlie Kirk content could threaten social peace. This was an open censorship order. The breaking news was, the topic that wasn't discussed at the ceremony but everyone was curious about was the identity and motivation of the person who killed Charlie. Very little was known about the killer Erica referred to as that young man. Why had he targeted Charlie? Had he acted alone? The lack of answers to these questions strengthened conspiracy theories. Musk's words, "He was killed because he showed the light," gained importance in this context. Was the killer really disturbed by Charlie's ideas? According to official records, the killer was a 24-year-old young man named Tyler Robinson, a university graduate and apparently normal American with no criminal record. But when Tyler Robinson's past was examined, very strange details emerged. In the last 6 months, he had withdrawn all his money from the bank, closed his social media accounts, and distanced himself from his family and friends. The strangest detail was how he came to Utah before killing Charlie. Robinson was known to live in San Francisco, but there was no trace of how he got to Utah. He hadn't bought a plane ticket, rented a car, or bought a bus ticket. He had appeared suddenly like a ghost. Where Robinson stayed in Utah was also unknown. He had no record at any hotel. So where had he slept that night? And where had he found the weapon he used to kill Charlie? Although the FBI said these questions couldn't be answered in the investigation, alternative media continued to probe these issues. According to a conspiracy theorist's claim, Robinson was a Manchurian candidate, a brainwashed assassin. There was no evidence supporting this claim, but Robinson's strange behavior in recent months had fed these theories, and the most surprising detail was the last message from Robinson's cell phone, a message he sent to an unknown number just 2 hours before his death. Job done. Now let him be silent. To whom had he sent this message, and whom did he mean by "let him be silent"? What happened after the funeral was also very striking. The hashtag Charlie Kirk Martyr became trending on social media. Thousands of young people shared videos in memory of Charlie. But at the same time, voices criticizing Charlie also rose. Some groups objected to him being called a martyr. This polarization showed what a divisive figure Charlie was even after his death. A very strange event happened after the funeral. A package was sent to Turning Point USA's headquarters by unidentified persons. The package contained clips from Charlie's last speech and a note that read, "The voice you silenced will multiply." The FBI took this package under investigation, but made no statement about the results. Even stranger was that 3 of Charlie's close friends mysteriously left the city after the funeral. These people were senior executives of Turning Point USA. Why had they suddenly disappeared? Had they received a threat? Or did they know something? Charlie's former business partner made this anonymous statement. After Charlie's death, we all received messages saying, "Be careful." We don't know who's sending them, but the message is very clear. Stay quiet. Who was sending these threats? And why were Charlie's associates being silenced? The most striking development was the security measures taken by Erica Kirk. After the funeral, she equipped her house with Secret Service-level security systems. Why was she taking such intense security measures? Who was she afraid of? Erica Kirk ended the ceremony with these words. Charlie's voice was silenced, but his message will never be silenced. Were these words a farewell or a declaration of war? Thousands of people who attended the funeral promised to keep Charlie's ideas alive. Turning Point USA's membership reached record levels after Charlie's death. Had Charlie's enemies actually made him stronger by killing him? The truth that emerged at Charlie Kirk's funeral was this. He wasn't just being remembered as a political figure. His death was seen as the beginning of a new era of American conservatism. Erica Kirk's message of forgiveness, Trump's call for unity, Musk's conspiracy theories, Vance's emphasis on martyrdom. They all pointed to the same thing. Charlie Kirk's death wasn't the end of the ideas he defended, but the harbinger of a new beginning. The legacy of this young man who was killed at age 30 had become even stronger after his death. And perhaps the most ironic thing was this. The forces that wanted to silence Charlie had given him immortality. But the story doesn't end here. Documents that emerged after the funeral showed there was a much bigger conspiracy. A week before Charlie's assassination, warnings came from various intelligence sources that there was a credible threat against Charlie Kirk. Why weren't these warnings taken seriously? More importantly, it became clear what topics Charlie had been working on in his final days. Just before his death, he was working on a project called the Deep State Files. This project aimed to expose secret power networks in the U.S. Could Charlie have been silenced by whoever was in these files? Erica Kirk's final words at the ceremony became much more meaningful. Charlie's voice was silenced, but his message will never be silenced, because the truth can no longer be hidden. What was this truth? And would Erica reveal this truth? The first statement of the Charlie Kirk Justice Foundation, established after the funeral, was very clear. We will find all of Charlie's killers. Not just the gunmen, but those who gave the orders. So what do you think Charlie Kirk really left behind? Just a political legacy or the beginning of a greater change? This story doesn't end here, because Erica Kirk is now at the center of the stage, and what she does could have much bigger consequences than Charlie's legacy. But most importantly, Charlie's death had become a turning point in America. It was no longer just a right-left fight, but the birth of an anti-system movement, and the leader of this movement was now the wife of a martyr who died at age 30. America would never be the same after Charlie Kirk's death. How did you find this story? If you want more detailed content about Charlie Kirk's story, let us know in the comments. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.